What's up, hungry people? Today, I'm gonna show you how you can cook a 13-course Halloween dinner, all in time for Halloween. Traditional 12-course dinners have 12 courses. But for my spooky dinner, I decided I had to go with unlucky number 13. That's probably why I had so many issues making this dinner. Halloween 2020 is gonna look a little bit different this year. I'm personally not really going as anything. I'm probably not even going to hand out candy. Sorry, trick-or-treaters. But instead, I'm going to stay in, get drunk, and eat some delicious Halloween-themed food. First up, to set the mood, a creepy green octopus Bloody Mary. The first dish sets the tone for the entire spooky deal. For our slimy green Bloody Mary, first we need tomatillos. Into the pot they go. Then we'll grab some cucumber for our cauldron, followed by some fresh picked jalapenos, a fresh picking of soap leaf, a heavy shot of tequila, a splash of water to help blend it all together, a pinch of salt, and last but not least, our creepy crawlies, which just so happen to be octopus legs. So we'll just go ahead and pop these in. It's just a little bit of garnish. Then you say the sea witch's spell. Oceans roll, shrimpies swim, make Halloween great again. Then you should just be able to reach into the cauldron and pull out your spooky drink. This drink will set the entire tone of your dinner. Now on to the second course. For our second course, a spooky amuse-bouche. All you need, some mozzarella balls, stuffed olives, and some prosciutto, and a melon baller. What we're going to do here is to make some creepy eyeballs. And you need these bigger mozzarella pearls. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our mozzarella ball and take our melon baller, grab our olives. You don't want to dig too deep into the mozzarella, but this should take out a nice little bite here, and you can either save this or eat it. And we're gonna stick our eye in. And I want the eye to kind of be set down into the mozzarella ball. Then we'll take a little bit of our prosciutto, and the prosciutto really makes all the difference in this recipe because the prosciutto kind of has this flayed skin look to it, and as you're peeling it off the paper here, you can kind of see what looks to be like little veins and such. And then you're kind of just going to layer the prosciutto on so that it looks sort of like an eyeball. Ugh. Kind of seeing this up close in person, it looks a whole lot scarier than it does here in my hand. It looks almost like realistic-y looking. Spooky. Ew. Ew. The best time to say ew is during a Halloween recipe, right? I mean, once you have two of these definitely, these look like eyeballs. Ah! So for now, we'll just go ahead and chill our prosciutto eyeballs until it's time to serve our 13-course dinner. Things are getting creepy for our third course. What dining experience isn't complete without some breadsticks? Spidery breadsticks. For our bread spider, first we must create a body. I'm just using some store-bought pizza dough for this. Just bake until, whoops, that's the wrong body part. Just bake the dough until it is golden brown and cooked through. I gave mine a light scoring and brushed it with an egg wash to give it a nice crusty exterior. Once the body is baked, grab a few mason jars. I picked these because they are perfectly round. Wrap the mason jars lightly with foil and spray with oil to keep them non-stick. Then I just used a sheet of canned dough to make these really thin Italian-style breadsticks. Then I draped about 8 over each jar and baked them in the oven until they were perfectly crisp. When the breadsticks are done, cut a hole in the center of the spider loaf body. You want to leave about an inch around the edges and a 1/4 inch of crust in the bottom. I cut out a little extra so I could really fill her up with sauce. Then I had to decide which side to make the face of our spider. For the eyes, I'm using these blue cheese stuffed olives. And then I just stuck them on with some toothpicks. To finish off our third course, we just need to add a few finishing touches. namely the blood. So I just have a little bit of pizza sauce here. We're going to take our crown off of our spider and add our spooky sauce. So I'm just gonna pour a little bit in, fill them up. And then of course, add our legs. Now I definitely ended up making a lot more leggies just to be safe. Plus we had a few feet that had a little bit of burned bits on the bottom and I didn't really want to serve those. So we can just add our little spider leggies. So spiders have 8 legs, so we'll just try to stick in 8 little crispy crunchy breadsticks. And that's how you make spooky spider dip. I love describing everything as spooky. No multi-course dinner can be considered such without salad. I'm gonna make us a really easy but creepy salad based off this recipe that I found from eatthedead.com. It's time to put bugs in our salads. We'll start with some cool water and a few packets of gelatin. While the gelatin is blooming, I'll grab my handy mini food processor and combine steamed broccoli, peas, parmesan, and cranberries and pulse them together until they are well combined. Next, we'll need to melt the gelatin with some boiling hot water and whisk it up until smooth. Finally, we'll pour the gelatin mixture into the food processor and pulse until a smooth mixture forms. I bought these bug-shaped silicone molds specifically for this recipe and solely for this bug shape right here. I think it's supposed to be a cocoon, but it kind of looks more like a grub to me. We'll just very carefully fill the molds with the gelatin mixture before we pop it into the fridge to set completely. So now that our grubs are nice and set, as you can see, it's kind of tiny, so I hope you guys can see this, but these definitely look like some kind of nasty bug of some kind. Like, oh, I just smushed that one. That was maybe not have finished setting. Where it came out kind of messy, it just kind of looked like they were smashed or something. Like that's their guts coming out. So actually, I'm not even mad that I was rushing through this and didn't take my time to make these look good, because now they just look like smashed grubs, which, let's be honest, that is way more disgusting. So I have a couple salads here, and these salads may or may not be super fresh. Don't serve your guests wilted salads, but I personally don't have a huge problem with eating bits and brown pieces on my salad, but I might have some problems if there's bugs on it. And in this salad, it kind of looks normal until you look a little closer. Perfect. I'm not a huge fan of peas personally, and I think that's mostly my problem, but I'll eat it when it's slathered with ranch later, that's for sure. So yes, our salads have a sprinkling of balsamic crispy beets, fried jalapenos, and just a hint of bugs. Ah. For our fourth course, a bloody surprise. It's soup fit for a vampire. For the soup base, we'll need to start with some olive oil in a Dutch oven. When the olive oil is nice and hot, we can add our potatoes and get those cooking until they are browned. After the potatoes, I'll toss in a mirepoix of vegetables, which is basically just carrots, onions, and celery. Then we can toss in some red peppers and lots of garlic to keep the vampires away, of course. We'll give the soup base a generous seasoning of smoked paprika and chili powder for a kick of heat. Next, we can mix in our beets. I took the easy route and used canned beets, not pickled beets, just a plain canned variety to save some time. Plus, these really help turn the soup bright red. After the beets have softened, we can add some red wine to deglaze the pot before adding additional beet juice for color, and finally, chicken broth. Cover and simmer for at least 20 to 30 minutes before using an immersion blender to make the soup nice and smooth. It should start looking like tomato sauce. Finally, add the remainder of the chicken broth and simmer for another 30 minutes or so. And now all that's left to do is serve our soup. This dish is meant to be a sort of play on borscht, which is a beet-based soup that is usually intensely red to look like blood. Borscht can also be served with a little bit of sour cream on top, so I'm gonna take a teeny dab of sour cream, put it in the middle there, and then just a little bit of green for garnish. Our bloody soup course is complete. Our next dish will have you crying for your mummy, because we're making Mummy Meatballs.
Next up, this course only needs 2 ingredients. The first are pre-made meatballs. These are 100% cooked and thawed meatballs that I grabbed from the frozen section in my grocery store. The scariest part about this recipe is popping open the bread tube. I have this handy cutting tool that's like a pizza cutter but with 3 wheels. I think it's meant for cutting herbs, but it also works well for cutting strips of bread for mummy wrappings. The bread strips can easily be fitted onto your meatball. Just wrap some under and around and leave a little spot for a face, and then bake the meatballs until they are warmed through and the wraps are golden brown.
So our last step here is just to finish off our meatballs. And in order to do that, all you need is a toothpick or some kind of stick with a little pokey end and some sriracha, or maybe ketchup or your favorite kind of condiment. So we'll take the end of our toothpick and just dip it in our sriracha and then decide where we want their face to be. And just put a couple little eyes, just so there's like little bloody eyes looking out. These mummy meatballs are so spooky that even Emotep is thinking about coming back from the dead to eat them for himself. For our next course, infected bat wings. And they're actually not infected for the reasons you might think.
We'll start by making a marinade for our wings with pineapple juice, soy sauce, Worcestershire sauce, honey, lime juice, ginger paste, sriracha, and to make your wings scary spicy, add a few dabs of your favorite hot sauce. 3 or 4 dabs will do it with this sauce, that's for sure. Then we are going to take a black food gel such as this one and take just a little bit and whisk it into our marinade to start the blackening process. I grabbed these fryer wings because they look sort of like bat wings when you stretch them out. You want this specific kind of wings for the right kind of effect. I'm just gonna dunk all of mine into the marinade and let them marinate for at least 5 or 6 hours. Okay, so this was definitely a bad idea. I have no idea what happened here. Black food dye was a bad idea. It is in my nails, and it has done this incredibly strange thing with the chicken. It's not black at all. It's green, but it's purple? I don't know what could have caused this effect. For a Halloween recipe, it sort of works, so we're just gonna have to roll with it. Perhaps we can help along the blackness by dyeing some honey? I don't know if this will work, but it's worth a shot. Just brush it evenly across the wings. They're looking a little purple, but that's alright. I then pop my wings into the air fryer for about 15 minutes, and well, this is the result.
So as you can tell, these bat wings came out a little bit different than the recipe I was following. They definitely do look like they're infected with something. These little green spots all over them. If I was a guest and I walked up to your Halloween party and this is what you were serving, I would seriously question your sanity. But because I made them for myself, I do know that they are edible. I did a test batch before I made these that did not turn green like this, so color me surprised. But the second batch with this greenish hue definitely makes them very gross looking. So I'll leave it up to you to test this one out for yourself. The marinade, absolutely delicious. Like, they are pretty tasty. They just don't look very good. For our 8th course, we're going to refresh our palate with vampire blood. So first, we're going to add our vodka, followed by a little bit of orange bitters, a splash of grenadine, and some delicious fizzy soda. And then finally, we'll add a squirt of fresh blood. Now I don't know any vampire spells, but I think if I just wave my hand over it like this, I should come out with something delicious. So I'll go ahead and reach in. Oh, worked perfectly. Consider my palate cleansed. For our 9th course, we get to play with fire.
For our smoker lungs, we're going to start with a rack of ribs with the fat backing removed. I simply marinated my ribs in apple cider while I prepared the smoker outside. Who doesn't love an excuse to play with fire? I lit up my smoker stack and got it to temp before adding the coals to the grill. When the grill is hitting about 200 degrees Fahrenheit, I went ahead and added some boiling water and some Jack Daniel's Whiskey Barrel wood chips to give my meat a flavor enhancement. I also gave my ribs a quick hit of sea salt. I set my timer for 145 degrees Fahrenheit so I would know when to add the sausage. At 145, the ribs should be about halfway done. So I added my sausage and put the lid back on the smoker. We're looking to get the ribs about 195 degrees Fahrenheit to really start breaking down that meat. About 15 minutes prior to finishing off the smoker, I added a simple barbecue sauce on top of my ribs. You can add whatever your favorite barbecue sauce is. The bloodier looking, the better.
Spooky, spooky, spooky! Our dead dude definitely looks delicious. Super excited to sink my cannibal teeth into this one later. Halloween is really getting to me this year. For our spookiest dish of the night, Witch Paella.
For our paella, we'll also need some fresh saffron threads and cuttlefish ink or squid ink to make our dish jet black like the deep, deep ocean. First, we'll add the saffron to some hot broth. I'm using a Better Than Bouillon lobster broth. And then we'll set it aside for now to really break down the flavor of the saffron. Then we'll add some butter to our pan. I don't have a paella dish, so this will have to do for now. Our first freaky ingredient are boiled octopus arms. Ooh, so creepy. Haha, but oh so tasty. Fry these in a little bit of butter until they are tender, kind of like shrimp. Then we can add our whole shrimp and some lobster claws. The goal here is just to heat up the claws and cook the shrimp all the way through. Then we can add the rest of our shrimp and cook it until it is nice and plump and pink. After the shrimp are cooked, we can deglaze the skillet with a little bit of white wine before adding in some olive oil. We'll start the base of the paella with some onion, followed by yellow and green pepper. Saute it all until tender, then pour in diced tomatoes. While the tomatoes are simmering, add some paprika and cayenne pepper. Then we'll add our squid rings. You can alternatively add these last depending on how you prefer the texture of squid. For our rice, we'll be using forbidden rice, which is already naturally black. Get the rice mixed into the skillet, and then we can grab our squid ink. You really don't need a whole lot, about a teaspoon or two will do. The color change is quite dramatic. We can then slowly start adding our saffron lobster broth. When the rice is beginning to absorb most of the liquid, add the rest of the broth and cover and let the broth cook until the rice is tender, or for about 20 minutes. And then we can add in our beautiful purple cauliflower and cover it again and steam it for about another 10 minutes or so. When the cauliflower is tender, we can return the seafood to the skillet and reheat it for about 4 to 5 minutes. Finally, we can give our paella a dash of parsley for some excellent contrasting colors.
I am so excited with how this turned out. I mean, if you were served this at any restaurant, you would be blown away. It smells delicious, its colors are beautiful, it is amazing to look at, and is definitely just the right amount of creepy. After eating this, the sea witch will have put her own spell on you. Now that we're past all of the main courses, it's time for another palate cleansing course, aka another cocktail. Because let's be honest, everybody needs to be drunk this Halloween, okay? Everybody, we need a lot of drinks. So first up, I have these Absolute Juice apple editions that I'm going to use. But if you have another preferred brand of apple flavored alcohol, then I recommend that that's what you buy, because I just didn't want to invest a lot on something that I knew that I wasn't really sure if I was going to like. So I got a few of these just as a taste test. So we'll add these to our cauldron. Then we'll add in some sour apple, followed by a bit more of lemon lime soda and a handful of grapes. Now, I do know the spell for this one. So, double toil and trouble, fires burning, cauldrons bubble. And then after that entire chant, you should end up with something like this. A poison apple cocktail. Because we all deserve it this year. Woo! Puckery! For our 12th course, we're going to be making Panna Cotta Eyeballs.
This will perhaps be our most complicated dish of the evening. We'll start with some kiwis and skin them alive. You can do this pretty easily with a spoon, and it gets them perfectly clean. Cut the kiwis in half. Now, we're looking to remove this centerpiece here in order to make the centers look like irises. So to do that, I'm going to use a melon baller to scoop out the center. But don't toss this little bit yet. We're gonna plug that back in so that the centers don't fill with the panna cotta mixture. I didn't have any mise en place bowls, so I improvised with these metal bowls. They ended up working better than I expected to be honest. So we'll pop our kiwis into these bowls and chill for a little bit while we make our rum raisins, which are exactly what they sound like, raisins soaked in rum. Next, we need to make our panna cotta, which will start again with some gelatin bloomed in cool water. While the gelatin is blooming, we will start heating our milk and sugar. I flavored mine with some strawberry kiwi flavoring, but you can also use regular vanilla or leave it unflavored if you prefer. Finally, we'll add our heavy cream as well as the bloomed gelatin. We need to get the gelatin melted into this milky mix. Transfer the milk to a heat-proof bowl or container. In our prepared kiwi bowls, I experimented with 2 and rounded up the edges with this cookie cutter, so we'll see how that turns out. And then we can grab our milk mix and very carefully pour it over the kiwi bowls so that the kiwis are pretty much completely covered. Then it's time to let the panna cotta sit for an hour in the fridge.
So I did end up experimenting with this a little bit behind the scenes just to make sure that I got the best panna cotta possible. So here are the original ones that I shot for the recipe, and then I also made these smaller versions that I wanted to see what these would look like. So basically the last step to these eyeballs is to plate them. So we got our plate and we got a little bit more of our strawberry glaze. So I think the best way to plate this dish would be to put all of the eyeballs on one plate and then give the option, lift them off and serve them to yourself. So basically we're going for a plate full of eyeballs. So then the trick here is to run the panna cotta under some hot water just for a few seconds to loosen it from the mold. You can sort of see how it's like already sliding into the mold. So we'll take our plate, flip it up, and then flip the whole thing over. Ooh, hey! That actually worked out. What we're going to do now is just take our towel and dab out the excess panna cotta that may have slid in there. We'll take our raisins and just fill in the middle here. It looks pretty creepy if I do say so myself. One more eyeball here. See if I can pop them out without losing them. There we go. Nice and cleaned up like the others. Pop in a pupil. But I did have one idea to take them to the next level, and that's to take a little bit of our jelly here and just make little veins and such coming out of the eyes. I think that'll really help. So this recipe definitely went way off the handles. It was complicated, but not so complicated that I don't think that a normal person would be able to handle it. But it definitely just took a lot of time and patience. So this is how I made spooky Panna Cotta Eyeballs. And for our final course, no Halloween dinner is complete without at least a little bit of candy. Because it's Halloween. We have to have candy. I do have a slightly more high effort costume to change into. Oh, and of course, sup you beautiful bastards, hope you're having a fantastic Halloween. Welcome back to the Starving Chef's Kitchen. My name's Felicia, and you've just been filled in. That's right, hungry people, this year I'm going as Philip DeFranco for Halloween because I swear to God, if Philip DeFranco decides to sign off at the end of 2020 and not come back for 2021, I think I will cry myself to sleep every night for the rest of my life. Anyway, back to the thing that we were doing, which was making our final course of a candy charcuterie. And let's just jump right on into it. It's 2020, so basically anything can be called charcuterie if you try hard enough. So that's why for our final course, we're doing a candy spread that I'm going to call charcuterie, although charcuterie is used loosely at best when it comes to describing this dessert. The key to a perfect charcuterie spread is to have a mix of textures, tastes, and colors. And that's why I have a little bit of all of my Halloween favorites to add to my board tonight. Make designated spaces on your board, and unfortunately we are gonna have to cover up the Ouija, but hopefully by the time we're done eating it, it will have a message to reveal to us. I like to mix and match a bunch of different things, so because it's Halloween, we want some candies to actually open. And these are just some random candies I picked up at a new candy store in our neighborhood. They have these waffle caramel cones, and then we got mini Toblerones to add to our board as well. So we can toss these on. Like I said, this is just something for you to have an opening experience. Now we want to add our soft sweets, and my soft sweets are these pumpkin spiced glazed donuts, which I'll throw a handful of these into a bowl here. And then I also got these pumpkin spice sandwich cookies, because you can never have too much pumpkin spice. Then I have some of these caramel and cheese mix popcorn. I love this flavor combination. It sounds like it would be weird, but it's really quite good. So we'll just add a handful of that. And this just adds a little savory corner to our board. Then we have goblin pretzels. I don't know what makes these goblin-y, aside from probably their color. So we'll just add a handful of these pretzels here. Then we'll add some eyeballs to our pretzel mix, just so something's looking at you while you eat. Then I have a box of jelly pumpkins, and so we'll just add a handful of these guys on here. Then I have these little martini olive almonds. It's just kind of fun to put a trick on your board, as well as some treats. Then we need to add some color. So we'll throw on some of these sour apple Twizzlers. And then finally we get to add all of our candy. So we've got Sour Patch Kids, which is my husband's favorite. Pour these on the board. And I like, again, to spread them out, spread the color around. So I'll put some here. And then Skittles, because I love Skittles. And I haven't had a Skittle in a minute. So we'll just add some Skittles here. Then I also got some Bunch of Crunch. And then finally, Gobstoppers to really play up all the colors of this board. Hope nobody confuses a Gobstopper for a Skittle. I didn't realize the colors were basically exactly the same. So here's what we'll do. We'll just grab a bowl specific for Gobstoppers so that doesn't happen. Okay, so all the Gobstoppers will go here. And then to fill in any empty spaces, you can add some raisins for any of your friends who think that they don't need to have candy, but they kind of want to have candy. Just toss in a couple raisins. And this technically makes it more of a charcuterie board because now there's fruit on it. So... And then finally, we will just use our pretzels to fill in any of the excess open spaces and kind of make little dividers where we need them, if we need them. And again, I just like to create a bunch of different colors, separate the board, but also have everything touching and coming together to create this delicious combination of sweet and salty and just amazingness all in your mouth all at once. It is now time to serve our spooktacular 13-course dinner. We'll start off our 13 courses with a spooky green Bloody Mary. For our second course, a disgusting display of eyeball prosciutto. For our third course, creepy spider leg bread dip. Complete with legs for dipping. For our fourth course, grubs on wilted lettuce. Wilted lettuce optional. For our fifth course, a bowl of bloody soup. For our sixth course, Mummy Meatballs. For our seventh and final appetizer course, infected bat wings. They certainly look infected. I'll give them that. Next, for our eighth course, we'll clean our palates with some vampire soda. For our ninth course and first main course, we have smoker's ribs and entrails. For our second main course, our scary delicious sea witch paella. And finally, to cleanse our palates before our 12th and 13th courses, a little bit of a poison apple cocktail. Ooh, poisoned indeed. Our first dessert course, eyeball panna cotta, complete with a bloody strawberry glaze beneath. And finally, for our last course of the evening, a little bit of candy charcuterie. Courses, definitely one of the more unlucky meals that I've had the honor of planning, but this is 13 solid courses that are great to eat all at once, spread throughout the week, or whenever you feel like it, because Halloween is apparently year-round now. It's always scary. I hate this. Please send help. That's it for this Spooky Chef. I hope you enjoyed this video. Because I'm Philip DeFranco today, I will throat punch you if you don't hit that subscribe button and flip that like button so I know that somebody at least is out there watching this. As always, you'll be able to find all of these recipes over on my website, thestarvingchefblog.com. What spooky recipes should I make for next year? I had so much fun planning literally everything. I had so much fun planning each and every course, making this meal perfect from start to finish, and now I just can't wait to dig in. I hope you all have a spooky Halloween. Don't forget to vote, because that's scarier than anything.